Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to Mik'd Up. Today is Monday, July 14th. Hope everybody had a great and beautiful weekend. We're back here live in our studio at IndigoPapers.com. Almost said .com. Indigo Papers.
I don't know why I thought you were going to say that too.
Indigo. I almost did. I stopped myself. IndigoPapers.com is where you should go to get all your feel-good stuff.
Yeah.
All your drinks, all your tinctures, all your
dips,
chews, gummies. Everything that you want to really feel relaxed, go to sleep, whatever you want to do. Take a load off. IndigoPapers.com. We are proud to be here at their home office where our studio is, but we have a lot to talk about, a lot of sports happening right now. Obviously, it's the summer, so it's kind of a downtime, but this week specifically, there's a lot going on. All-Star Game festivities going on in Atlanta. Home Run Derby is going on right now, or about to start right now. SEC Media Day is going on in Atlanta, right?
Yes.
That's also in Atlanta. Brian Kelly took the podium today, did his State of the Union deal, said a lot of things that we already know. Usually says, talked about everything that you imagine he was going to talk about. Asked some questions. We're going to get into that and kind of dissect some of the stuff he said, kind of give our thoughts on what we expect. We're also going to talk a lot of baseball. Obviously, the Major League Baseball draft is wrapping up today. LSU well represented early on. I want to say they had 6 or 7 guys drafted so far. Kate Anderson, obviously the highest, going number 3 overall, followed by Chase Shores, then Anthony Ianson, then Dickinson, and so forth and so on. We're going to talk about that. Obviously, a lot of people up in arms a little bit around the LSU faithful up in arms that Kate Anderson did not go 1 overall. He went number 3 overall. I think that was kind of the speculation. He was not going to fall out of the top 3. Obviously, we all anticipate him going number 1, not just us. Vegas anticipated him going number 1. He was the odds-on favorite. Seems like it was kind of an upset pick, a surprise pick with the high school kid Willits coming in at number 1, youngest number 1 overall pick in the history of Major League Baseball, I think. Followed by UC Santa Barbara right-handed pitcher going 2. Those guys were kind of surprise picks, whether it be Kate Anderson going 1 or Holiday's going number 1. Neither one of those guys did go that way. That was kind of the conversation that was between those two guys. They went 3 and 4 respectively. Obviously, still really good positions to get drafted in. And Cade signed right away with the Mariners for $8.8 million. I think $700,000 below slot. He will have a great career in the minors and major leagues. It'll be fun to watch his ascension to the big leagues. Chase Shores drafted, I think, 47th overall by the Los Angeles Angels. Feels like he could be a fast mover. Could be maybe one of the quicker guys to make the big leagues based off his stuff. If he can hone it in, kind of pitch like he did in Omaha a lot more consistently, it feels like he's got all the upside in the world. We're going to get into the draft. Josh Jordan joins our show at 7 o'clock via video call. He's going to talk about all things recruiting, talk about the draft, how he feels like they did as a staff, and getting some guys they kind of got crushed a little bit with some of their recruits, but that's the norm. That has not been the norm the last couple years. Seems like it kind of came back to what it used to be as far as the top-rated high school guys that you get picked. They got drafted high. Jared Mitchell was talking to me about this off air, and he reminded me early on in the year when Jay Johnson came on our show. He had mentioned that there's been more money thrown around to some of these younger guys by the Major League Baseball, which is going to affect some of the recruiting. We saw that happen here. Obviously, none of these guys haven't announced that they're going, but based off where they were selected, it seems like a lot of these guys will end up foregoing college and going to the Major League Baseball and starting their professional career. But we'll have that conversation with Josh Jordan when he comes on the show at 7 o'clock. Lloyd, how was your weekend?
Excellent weekend.
Excellent weekend. Low key.
Low key.
Stayed in town, didn't travel.
That's right.
Good for you.
Yes.
Jared, how was your weekend?
Oh, great weekend. Pretty good weekend.
Yeah. Love great weekends.
Yeah, it's a good weekend.
Mine was great. I was ripping some lips out in the water, 50 miles offshore. Oh, yeah, I was fishing.
Fishing.
Bringing in a bunch of snapper in our boat. had the privilege of have gone fishing with some of the LSU guys. Casey Evans, Jaden Newt, Josh Pearson was on that trip. DJ Primo was on that trip. Dalton Beck was on the trip.
How far out were y'all?
50 miles.
Is there a place that's worse to be hungover?
We were not hungover.
I know. I'm just saying if you would have been.
And look, I will say this, and shout out to all the boys. And I don't know if they're listening live. Shout out to all the boys. Not one of them got sick.
Oh, no seasickness.
Yeah, and the guy that we were going with, the camp that I was at, he was like, man, this is the first time that we bring a group of these guys out here that not one of them gets sick. Usually it's, you go
Mixed
offshore.
bag.
Fortunate it was good weather, calm waters, and so it wasn't too bad. Hey, Casey Evans and Jaden Newt were
going after it?
They're fishing their ass off. They look baiting hooks. They were doing the biggest. So it's wild, right? Now listen, I'm just getting in the angler game. I'm just
angling.
I'm an angler. So I'm just getting into the. I've always enjoyed fishing, but no, didn't really grow up doing it a ton. So we're getting out there, and when you go deep sea, when you go fishing like that, and you go off, the water's like 450. Like you can go way out there.
Yeah.
Right, and it gets deeper and deeper. We got to like the water. The water is probably about 450, right, 450 feet. And obviously, to get it down there, you have to have heavy weights, all this stuff. So it's a grind to reel this thing up there, right? So you get the electric reel, and you go out there, and the electric reel is like cheat code. You go out there, feel the bite, and zoom, you hit it, and it just pulls it up, and you do the whole deal, right? And so you're doing that. We're catching a few. Jay Newt goes out there and hand cranks a 20-pounder. He had the biggest one of the day for us. He fought it up there, got it up there. Legitimately brought it up. So shout out to the boys. I know they had a good time. It was the Blue Boot fishing rodeo out there, and so they were representing the guys there and trying to, they were there Saturday night for the live auction. Casey Evans cleats went for $3,500. Kate Anderson's jersey went for $5,500.
Oh.
Yeah, Bear Jones' jersey went for, I think, $3,200. So it was a successful auction for the boys, successful auction for all of those in Grand Isle, and it was a good time. I had a great weekend. Got a nice tan, Yeah, I got cooked a little bit out there, but it was great. It was great. Good to be back with the boys and good to talk sports. So let's jump right into it. Let's start with a little bit of the SEC Media Days. Since we got baseball in the second hour of this show with Josh Jordan, and we have, obviously we're going to get to a lot of this draft conversation. But before we get to that, let's just jump into this football media day since it's kind of just ended for LSU. Obviously, there's a couple more days of coach interviews and things going on. Brian Kelly got out there today and spoke about the state of the program and kind of what he's expecting. And, he said everything that you anticipate him and you kind of figured he would say. Anything that you saw or heard from him or from any of the questions that kind of raised your eyebrows, Lloyd?
Not necessarily. I feel like he had put himself in this position already, right? Like I was doing, Buddy Sanji, since we were off on Friday, picked up a little extra shift, and he was asking the question of what do you think Brian Kelly's temperament will be on the podium? Because he said a lot of things and had to say, it felt like a lot of these things wherever he was publicly asking for money. He wanted to be able to get better players, and then LSU has found its way into the transfer portal, and now you have 18 guys that you had to add to your roster. And he gets up there and he starts ripping off names. It was pretty impressive, as Brian Kelly is one to not know the names of players on his teams at some points throughout his tenure at LSU. He got to about 5 or 6 of them. Goes, and there's some guys I haven't mentioned yet that I'll talk about later. But it was more so his, attitude and what he's expecting LSU to do because he knows he has to win and win now.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I think he was very upbeat, obviously, which, you should be. Media days are interesting. It's fun because it's kind of like the beginning of football season. They're going to start camp soon, kind of get you a little bit fired up for football season. But it's all about optimism, right? Like, it's everybody's 0-0. Everybody's got expectations. Everybody believes that they've had a good offseason and everybody's in good shape and they're well equipped to make a run during the season. So it's you take what they say with a grain of salt because nobody's gonna say anything negatively. You don't really have anything to ask them about, like, oh, what happened in the game and why didn't you play well, all that kind of stuff. What I thought was interesting, though, he brought up and he didn't shy away from the fact that he's 0-3 in game ones, right, against good competition. He talked about the importance that they're putting on the Clemson game, which they should. Obviously, top 10 matchup. Two of the three Heisman Trophy frontrunners to start the season, and Klubnik and Nussmeier. And he went out there and he said, look, we understand that we have not had a lot of success. We understand the sense of urgency there, which is everything you would hope that he would say. But he didn't shy away from it. He understands it, and he feels like that's been a very evident conversation throughout the team throughout the offseason. It's been it's been a big point of emphasis. Jay, have you kept up with any of it, or you seen any of the clips, or seen any of the quotes that have been going on over there?
Yeah, I got a chance to watch it. Let me first start with some positivity.
Yeah,
if that makes any sense. I was actually really encouraged about how he spoke about the offensive line, about the weapons around Nuss, about Nuss coming back for his second year of being a starter, where he thinks he's at, what he thinks that they've done with the offensive line in terms of upgrading it, where he thinks the defense is at for this year and all those things. But the one thing that did bother me, it truly did bother me, because I can remember now, honestly, it wasn't game one or game two. We didn't have those situations, but I don't know what else you would think you would be getting when you got a ranked Florida State or a top 10 ranked Florida State and all that stuff that's come in town for you to start your season off. I don't understand why the urgency wasn't there and created in all those years, and now they're finally taking to the mindset of, hey, this is the game we need to win. Like that feels a little weird. I feel like that should have always been a thing, right? I feel like you should always be approaching it that way, especially when you're playing another quality opponent. So that kind of rubbed me the wrong way, and it just makes me feel like I don't know how, but we've missed the mark on how we've coached them up to get ready for that week one. I guess in a positive light of it is I like where they are and how they're approaching it for this year, but I feel like that should have been consistent over every one of these season openers.
Agreed. And look, I'm not saying I'm not saying I don't know anything, right? I don't know him. I don't know the way, like, if they have or have not had a sense of urgency, but it's been a lot more vocal this year than it had in the past. And, I don't know what the reason of that is, and there's no real good reason, honestly. Like, you couldn't tell me, or you can't give me a reason that would make me, okay, that makes sense of why you're more – there's a sense of urgency here, and there wasn't a sense of urgency for the other two games, because there's really nothing that would really make sense. In my opinion, it feels like –
Well, I think the reason why there's a sense of urgency now and why there wasn't then is, too, because they haven't won one in 5 years.
100%.
That's probably the biggest reason, right? But the second biggest reason, I think, is because we're used to seeing that first really big conference game come probably somewhere around the beginning of October. Well, week 3 they're playing Florida.
Right.
Who beat them last year with a freshman quarterback. So you got a chance to be going into week 4 this year already 1-2 if you don't strap it on from week 1.
Correct.
So I think that's why they have so much urgency. But frankly, I think that same urgency should have been there all of these past season openers.
100%. And look, maybe he thinks that he has a lot better team than he's ever had. And I mean, I think he's been vocal about that. He is more confident on the talent that he's got on this team, compared up and down the team compared to what he had in years past, which is no excuse on why he shouldn't have a sense of urgency. But maybe that's part of why he's been a lot more vocal about that. I don't know, but they got in, they got out. The player interviews are great. Weeks obviously, talked about how important Harold Perkins was to the team, how great of a season he believes that they're going to have defensively. Chris Hilton, I thought, was impressive in his interviews in talking about the game that kind of turned it on for him, where he dropped those 2 balls, and he felt like had he caught both of those balls, they would have won that game. And it feels like he's using that as motivation moving forward, which will be good to see, because the talent's there and the ability's there, and be healthy and be ready to go. And it feels like he understands that. And so, I feel like all the players did what they needed to do. Nussmeier came out there and acted like a starting quarterback and a guy who's been a veteran. So, all in all, I thought it was, a positive media day. Like I said, it's hard to take the media day conversations and really go into depth about it because they're so far away from the season. And, like I said, all in all, I think it was good. It was nice to get some football conversation out there.
And here he is, kind of addressing the Clemson situation straight off the rip.
You've got another probably top 5 matchup going to Clemson, the Battle of the Tigers, the Battle of Death Valley, and all the things you can imagine right there. But what are your thoughts about going to Clemson to play week 1?
A great deal of respect for Clemson. I think that is a given because of my background playing Clemson, as an ACC team. So I have great respect for Dabo and what he's built and the championships. But at the end of the day, our feeling is this is a goal of ours. This is one of our tangible goals that we have put out in front, that we want to start the season 1-0. It's important to us. And so our off-season training has been about that. It's about going 1-0 and playing a great program. And we're excited about the challenge. It's going to be difficult. But look, I don't think you set realistic goals unless they're difficult. This will be a difficult challenge for us, but one that we're excited about and one that we're focused on with great intent.
And you should be. That should always be the answer for going into game 1 of the season. To Jared's point, what
have we been doing?
Yeah, if you haven't been doing that before, then there's an issue there.
I think that's the perfect question, right? Like, if that wasn't the approach before, well, then what the hell was it?
Yeah,
that's where you'd like to get, I guess, somebody there that would be like follow up. So what makes that different than every other game 1 that you've coached in?
Correct.
Because I'd like to know.
I don't know. Maybe he feels the seat getting a little hotter, and he's like,
should.
"Okay, this is shit or get off the pot type year for him." And I think everybody understands that. He definitely understands that. But we'll see.
This is what he's done. Wilson Alexander asked him the question about getting ready for Clemson, and he had a very pointed answer about what they're doing to set up for week 1, as it is obviously put up or shut up time.
Which I want to. After he says this, I'm gonna defer to Jared because just go ahead. This isn't anything new.
This offseason about circling the Clemson game. How are y'all talking about that first game in a way that's maybe different than you have the past few years?
Yeah, that's a great question. We've made it a specific goal. Goal setting is something that we're all very familiar with in college football. Everybody talks about goals. We've made this a specific goal. And a specific goal meaning it's tangible for our guys. If you go through our weight room, we've got a Clemson paw print on the bags that we hit every day. It's on every monitor in the building to go 1-0. And I think it was important to have a tangible, specific goal for us to start the season. And I think it's important. Our kids want that. They can taste it. I use the analogy that, when I work out, I like to have a clock in front of me, so I know what the time is and when it's time to finish or to finish strong. And that's what this is. This is a clock in front of them saying, this is where we start this. And then it becomes 1-0 every week after that, but it's tangible and it's specific.
Jared, from my experience of not playing football at LSU but working out in the indoor, feels like that every year that's what it used to be. Hey, we're playing this team. It's fun. There's their logos everywhere. You got 1-0 everywhere. Feels
so
like
I guess, and that's where my problem is in this thing is because once upon a time what people don't understand is like baseball and like a lot of sports use the football facility to do their workout. So you got an opportunity to see a lot of the stuff that was going on. I got an opportunity to see it from both sides. I can tell you, just like Mikey's telling you, from seeing it, walking in there as a baseball player and those things still being posted and being around, that used to be a week in and week out type of thing. Not just hey, we're going to do it this week because we haven't won this particular type of game in the last 4 or 5 years, so now we're going to finally do it. That used to always be a thing. week in and week out. So like I'm confused as to how that isn't the messaging you want to kind of give these guys week in, week out, year in, year out. Like it's, Jay Johnson talks about it a lot, man. He talks about the one game season where every game it means that much. It almost feels like we haven't put that much emphasis on starting the year 1-0. We haven't put that much emphasis on understanding that the team that you're playing is not somebody you're coming to warm up against. The team that you're playing may be the very one that kicks your ass out of playoff contention down the road. And like that's kind of where my disconnect is on this whole thing. Like I said, I started this thing off with positivity because I liked a lot of what he said. And I'm very cautiously but very optimistic for the roster that they have. That's just a little troubling to me. I don't know. And it doesn't mean that it won't get done this year, because if you're actually doing it this year and you continue to take that same thing throughout the year, I think it can be very beneficial for you. I just don't understand why that wasn't a thing before.
Correct. And look, like you said, I like the roster configuration. I like the talent that they got on the team. I think out of his 4 years, it's the most talented team that he's had. He's said that. I think Nussmeier said that. Weeks has said. Everyone has said that. So like that's not in question. So I do like the prospects of them and the season of what they're going to have. But, yeah, it's just like, why not? And maybe it's just him he has to say something and just, like, trying to get some positivity behind it. I don't know, but that should have been happening from day one. That's it. That's all.
Yeah, I feel like I feel like he's smarter than to just be saying something that, if you really think about it, damn, we should have been doing this. So why am I bringing it up now if we've been doing it, if we haven't been doing it? Like, I feel like he meant it genuinely. I feel like he meant that, like, this is the change we made to put an emphasis on week one. And it's weird that emphasis hasn't been there in the past.
Yeah, and look, you know what? It's not great that it hadn't been there in the past. I'm glad they figured it out. Yeah. I'm glad. If it's something that's new, I'm glad they started doing it because,
that's what blows my mind.
The definition of what? Insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting the same different result.
But I just don't know how Brian Kelly has found his way to find all of this rope. Like, I've never seen somebody that gets a 10-year, $100 million contract. It's the activist. Is the active.
Wow.
He's not an activist for anything except for LSU football. He donates to it himself. But is the active winningest head coach in college football. And he still gets the ability to go, oh, made a mistake. Oh, we figured it out. Oh, made a mistake. Oh, we figured it out. It's like you'd think somebody that's been coaching for over 40 years wouldn't make the same mistakes over and over and over and over again.
Yeah. Well, and that's part of the conversation. If there's zero, oh, gotta do this or can't now fix it. Let's fix it. You've fixed everything that needed to be fixed. So
and he had to quit doing.
I think that also goes to show too. Like, I guess we could sit there and talk about this in two different lights. Like, if that is the fault of the active most winningest coach and a guy that's literally like, I mean, he's basically getting you to 9 wins every year. It shows you, to me, in my terms, like just a little bit how small the margin is and a little bit of things you got to do different to be able to get over that hump. You know what I'm saying? Like, because obviously he's a good coach. I don't think it's fair to sit here and try to say anything other than that. But it's weird to me that something like that kind of got lost in translation.
Yeah, it's like I said, we'll see in 6 weeks, 6.5 weeks, 6 weeks I think is when they start. It's the 14th. I think they start on the 30th. So yeah, about 6 weeks.
And he did have to give up one of his, or he says he did, give up one of his hobbies. So maybe this is why a little bit.
He went hiking in the Grand Canyon.
Oh, probably looking for a golf ball.
Yeah.
No, look, he got asked about golf.
How's the handicap? You know what? I had other things to do in the month of June. And July can't. It goes quickly.
You know what? Hugh Freeze is going to get asked that question.
Oh, he will get asked.
Hugh Freeze on the golf course.
Every day.
Golf game looks good. Lane Kiffin trolling the shit out of him.
Yep.
Love that. And look, golf games shouldn't be good. You shouldn't be playing too much golf.
What if he's just a good golfer?
Maybe it is. You know who's a good golfer? Jaden Newt. He's scratch.
Oh.
He's wearing Payne Valley hat on the boat, and I was like, "Damn, you play golf?" He goes, "Yeah." I was like, "Pretty good." He goes, "Yeah, I'm scratch." I'm like, "Hey, you're pretty good."
Oh.
pretty good.
So you didn't have to pull it out of him. He was just very much.
Oh no, he was ready.
Ready, yeah.
He was ready to play. He was ready to talk about it. But yeah, he should be good at golf. Obviously, he should be doing stuff. And look, and this isn't. This could be. You could use this as an indictment on Brian Kelly in the past. But in the past, it feels like he has not been here available in the early summertime, right? Kind of doing his thing, vacationing, moving around. Feels like he's been more present this year, which I think, again, why hasn't that been the case over the last 4 years? Whatever that case may be, whatever that reason may be, I'm glad that it's different this year because it's a big one. It's a big season.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of Hugh Freeze, again, tracker alert. Information available from the USGA's Golf Handicap Information Network reveals that Auburn coach Hugh Freeze played golf 10 of the first 20 days of this month. War Damn Eagle.
Nice. 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 Hey, listen. If you're going to go, you think Hugh Freeze is playing like 7:30 a.m. tee time and then be done by 10:30 and then in the office, or you think it's like, hey, I'm going to go midday round and just, really just not give a shit about recruiting? I think it's more midday round, if I'm being honest.
There's that Johnny Barn who put this post out on the Auburn Live message board. He goes, look, I play a lot of golf, probably too much. I don't want this to come across the wrong way, but I've had enough. I had some friends at Auburn tell me how much Hugh Freeze plays, and it led to me to check his again. Hugh played golf 10 of the first 20 days of this month. I know people that are retired that don't get to play that much, let alone make $7 million a year.
We'll see.
You're under 500 and ranked 47th in recruiting, and you're going
golfing. Yeah, but I say the recruiting's not great either. They're not. They haven't brought in a ton of players.
This is the things that happens when you start to become on the hot seat a little bit. This is the shit that comes out.
Your private life ain't private. And the thing about, again, hey, I respect him for posting his scores, though.
Yeah, he's trying to get that handicap down.
What is his again?
I don't know, and I'll have to check. But after you were under 500 last year, ranked 47th in recruiting, I have concerns. Also, I know for a fact he played the day after we lost to Vanderbilt. I understand that it is insane behavior for me to have dove into this, and I do not care.
Yeah, that is
fan base, brother.
Listen, you got to know.
Hey, listen, when you took that L to Vanderbilt last year, at that point in time, he's probably sitting there thinking to himself, I need a release. I need something to kind of get my mind off of this, or at least help me think a little bit better than what I am. So I think probably golf was his way of doing it. Yeah, maybe that's some frustration.
Maybe we'll see. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's not a good look. Not a good look. But hey, everybody's got to have an escape. Maybe that's his escape.
I can't believe we didn't think to do this for Brian Kelly like last year.
His again?
Yeah, just to look.
You can probably look at his again right now, and see if he was lying. He hadn't played much golf in June. I believe him, but we shall see. Home Run Derby's about to start. Do y'all have a favorite in the Derby?
Oh, James Wood.
Who's all in it this year? Can we throw that out there?
I'll tell you right now. So James Wood's leading it off. He's the first one to go. Brent Rooker, Mississippi State guy. He's 2. Junior Caminero, 3. O'Neal Cruz, 4. Byron Buxton, 5. Jazz Chisholm, 6. The Big Dumper, 7. Matt Olson, 8. So very different type of players in the Home Run Derby, not necessarily known for being – I mean, there's some like Brent Rooker's a homer guy. Cal Rowley's a homer guy. Matt Olson's a homer guy. James Wood has a bunch of homers this year. But not a lot of guys that you would think that, like, you'd expect to be in the Home Run Derbies. So I don't know. Who do you like out of those?
I kind of really like O'Neal Cruz, but I don't know if I like him in this ballpark because there is a little bit of a higher wall in right field. I haven't seen him do it obviously in so long, but I would be interested to see what 2025 Byron Buxton's BP looks like compared to what it did when he was like a young kid or, just younger. Well, I would really love to see that. I don't know why, but I just got a feeling like that might play in this situation.
I was looking at Buxton too. I thought he has 21 homers this year. He said 290 with 20. When Byron Buxton's healthy, he's one of the best players in the game. Yep. He hadn't been healthy very often. He's healthy so far this year. 21 homers. I wouldn't be shocked. The equalizer in the Home Run Derby now is the speed, right? Like the time frame that you're hitting it. So, like, you got a bunch of guys that can hit homers. It just can't. Are they going to be able to withstand or have the stamina to get through it? Matt Olson's going to hit some far homers. He's playing in his home ballpark. Yeah. He's hitting in his home ballpark. Cal Raleig's probably the favorite because he's got 38 home runs, which is wild. 38 home runs at the break as a catcher, switch hitter. My question is, obviously, you can go back and forth. You don't just have to hit from one side, right? You could flip-flop.
Mm-hmm.
So it's basically two guys in one there. I'm going to go – look, Jazz Chisholm. I'm not taking Jazz Chisholm. That's kind of like that'll be an upset pick. I'm going to go Matt Olson. Home ballpark winning it.
I like it.
You're going,
not a bad pick.
You're going Buxton?
It's not a bad pick at all. I don't know if I love a lefty and BP in that park, but that's definitely not a bad pick.
You going Buxton?
Yeah, I'll go with Buxton.
What about you, Lloyd?
Give me old Buxton.
Would.
And he's back home too. He's right from outside of the Atlanta area. Like he's back home as well.
Yep. I think that's what I think they should do. I think they should change the home run derby. Keep it obviously however you want the guy saying, but I think that you should have not the kids out there that are getting crushed by these balls. You should have 3 outfielders, left fielder, center fielder, right fielder, and they should be able to rob homers.
I think,
bring them
okay,
back.
Now that you're thinking about this, I'm with you. And it is 3 outfielders all for a player on the team. Like if you're hitting in the home run derby, you play for the Cubs, you get your 3 outfielders. Every home run they bring back counts as a total towards your team total.
No, see, I don't. Oh, like from another person.
Yeah. So you can rob the home run, it goes toward like.
Yeah, but how do you? I mean, there's 8 guys hitting in the home run derby, so you have to have 3 outfielders from each team. And they're going up against now
it's a team. Like so, the Mariners have a team, whatever it is, and so every robbed homer counts as either a team total now, which now it's not just hitting homers.
No,
or it takes away.
Takes
from the
away.
Other, yeah, it takes away.
You take away homer. I don't even think you need to add any or subtract any. I think just robbing the homer obviously takes it away. So that's one less homer they would have because he robs it. So like, I think that'd be a little bit make it a little interesting. It'd make it more like, I don't know. You just have to pay attention more. I mean, just something different.
Yeah, instead of having those kids.
I'd like to see him get back to the 10 outs. Like the 10 outs is the real thing. I think you should cap it at, let's say, 20 homers and find a time that makes sense that gives you 30 legitimate swings. So you can't sit here and maybe take 50 pitches. You need to have the right BP guy. You need to have somebody you trust doing that. You need to be able to sit there, and I can't take bad swings because I ain't got that much time and I ain't got that many outs.
Yeah.
Like I'd like to see him kind of get back towards that. And then once you narrow that field down, maybe you can take the cap of the 20 homers off, or you have a homer off if you got 2 guys that are going against each other that both get it. Like I'd like to see him do something like that.
Yeah,
I personally don't love just seeing a dude up there just swinging. Like home run derby, so like they've turned it to when you're able to do it this way. Inevitably, like there is those unicorns that can still hit very long homers, but now you've also turned it into to where like no. Listen, if I show up for a home run derby, I don't want to see a ball go in the second row of the stands. I just don't. That's just me.
Right.
I want to see shit hit to the moon.
Correct.
And don't come back.
Correct.
So, like, I think back in the lore of the home run derby, back when it was so fun, is when we got to watch balls go that damn far and the guy wasn't already swinging at another one. We got to marvel at, oh my God, he just hit that out the stadium and it landed here, and everybody watched it and had fun with it. But he wasn't already swinging at the next pitch. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, and then and now it's like you're so tired and you're trying to get so many swings in that you're going to lose distance, sacrifice distance just to get it. Like you're not going to hit as far. You may hit more. You're just not going to hit them as far. And I agree with you. I think let's shut that down so that you can have the majestic homers and see how far you can hit it. Because like every hitter wants to be able to see, like, oh, watch how far I can hit this. That's
like I mean, the game itself, like the actual game of itself, right now has changed to where like that is what we do. You hit a long ball, you stand there and you watch it. You don't run around fast. But now when we get to the home run derby, it's about speed. It's about quantity. Like, yeah, I need the quantity to be there because I need you to hit more than the next guy that you matched up against. But damn, if I hit one 470, I can't have you swinging for the next one in the middle.
Right. Correct. You're showing all the steroid error.
Yeah, it's 2000.
Yeah. Well, Chipper wasn't, but I mean, all those guys are. If you want, he's not. If you want to go, if you want to go see, if you want to go like see something comical, go pick up. I think it was a 2003 World Series All-Star Game stats, and just go look at everybody's numbers. Like
halfway through the year.
The most now look, I get it. You know, Cal Raleigh has 38, so that's outrageous. But go look at the entire lineup of that roster, and it's pretty outrageous on the amount of homers and RBIs and average and all the stuff that they're doing in that season. It was pretty crazy.
J-Bitch, and I'm with you because I do think like the watching of it and like the 10 outs, and it kind of builds the drum up a little bit more. But now there is a part of this, the way they do it now, where when they get on a heater, it's like home run after home run after home run. That gets very exciting. But I do think that the drama,
you still get that. You still get that with the homers.
That's what I'm saying.
With the
like
10 outs, because you get to keep going if you get it over the fence.
Right.
All right. Like it doesn't count as an out. It doesn't.
No, I was just saying like the rapid fire version of it when they just go bang bang bang, and you see 5 leave in a row if they can catch all 5 of them. But I don't think that beats out the old nostalgic version of 10 outs. Let's see how far you can hit. Take your time. Who cares how long we're here?
Right.
Well, I'm gonna say, I'll just ask you this, Lloyd. Like, what's more exciting to you? Seeing 5 homers in a row, but all of them leave at maybe 10 feet over the fence, or seeing one that's hit an absolute mile, and actually seeing the dude that hit it, the people that he's played with, all like legitimately marvel over it, and then people talking about it. Like, which one like catches more views?
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. That one, the latter. Whenever you have you set up the moment, the mystique, like you get to see people react, like the old school when they had the camcorder out there, they would go out and be like in awe of what some of these guys can do, and now it's just turned in they might hit 5 in a row and you only see 3.
Right. So, yeah. So like that's kind of where I'm at with it, man. Like hitting home runs is not about how quickly can you do.
Right.
It's about literally squaring it up and like, let's see how far this thing can go. Like I don't know, man. I think it takes away from what the mystique around hitting a homer is. I don't love the idea of like, let's see how many rapid fire homers you can hit.
Correct. I mean, I agree. They need to make a change to it. They've tried it. Manfred came on. I love the fact that McAfee's at the All-Star game right now, giving some pub to baseball. I think that's good. You know, Manfred goes on there and says, "Hey, we hear you what you say, that you don't like baseball and it's boring and all this kind of stuff, and I want you to help us change the game and, you know, get more viewers and all these types of things." And I haven't been a huge Rob Manfred guy. I did enjoy him on McAfee today in the interview because of the things that he's trying to do. And he talked about viewership, and he talked about TV contracts and things that they tried to do and they're trying to replace. And, you know, I think baseball gets a bad, kind of gets some bad pub, but I think that it is in a good place right now with all the young talent and everything they got going on. They do have viewership. It's obviously more localized, but, there's always things that need to get tweaked.
Definitely. I will say this. I don't know. I think in the public light, in the public eye, I feel like today on McAfee's show, that might have been the most positive light I think I've ever seen Rob Manfred kind of painted in. Yep. That might be the most positive situation that I think he's kind of ever done, like the best interview or best platform that's kind of gotten a chance to maybe change what people think about him in the past. I think for a long time that really just hasn't been the case, and I think he did a good job of going on there and doing that. As kind of all of those commissioners have. I think people still gonna boo Commissioner Goodell of the NFL forever, but I think the time he spent on McAfee's show kind of gave you more of the, he ain't so bad. You don't like him,
right?
But he ain't so bad, right? Because I think a lot of people look at that job and say, you make what? How much money? Right? And I think that they think like those guys make too much anyway for them to even be liked. So I think that's a little bit of a part of it. But I think all of those guys coming on these shows finally, and kind of answering questions in a realistic way, I think it's done their image a whole lot better than what it was before.
Yeah, no, 100%. And that's what LSU needs is good publicity. They need to have the commissioner out there speaking highly of what's happening and what's next and all those types of things. And they also need the media to go and pub them and be, hey, this is fun. Let's pay attention to it. Let's watch it. All that type of stuff. So. Today was, I think, a positive for Major League Baseball. Speaking of, let's kind of shift gears to the draft. We've talked about the LSU guys drafted. We've talked about who was drafted, where they went, all those types of things, recruits. Give me your initial take on LSU in the draft this year.
I wasn't sure if he had done enough for that to happen not necessarily in my eyes. I'm not that surprised in terms of his talent and what he has and what he was considered when he showed up at LSU. But I wasn't sure that they would see it as like, hey, here's enough for you to go to this spot. I was kind of surprised, but also not surprised at the same time with where Chase Shores went. The talent is so great, and the ceiling of it could be so incredibly good if they can get him to do the one little thing that all these teams probably think that he needs to do, whatever that thing is. I'm in that terms, I'm not that shocked that that's where he went. But then you're all like, oh, I guess I am kind of a little bit shocked because there's no chance he's coming back. He's gone.
Gone. The most shocking thing to me was Ianson going in the third round. I thought he was going to be a top 2 rounder. I thought he was a top 60, 70 pick in the draft. He went in the third round. Obviously, he's gone. He's going to go and start his professional career. But I think the Red Sox got a steal there in the third round with his pitch ability. When you get in the draft is a crapshoot, right? Like, you don't know. You can have all these projections and you can have all these conversations and everybody can say, oh, he's going to go here, he's going to go there. You don't really know until it happens, right? And there could be something that can cause a chain reaction in the draft, and you could have a 17-year-old high school guy go 1 overall that nobody really anticipated him going 1 overall. You could have a right-handed pitcher from UC Santa Barbara go 2 overall that wasn't expected to go 2 overall, and then that slides a couple people down. There's a lot of high school guys drafted in the first round this year as opposed to what it has been in the recent years. I think last year and the year before. And so when things like that happen, you don't know what team really values what, right? They can say it, and they can, it's not baseball draft's not as publicized in the media leading up to it as much as like the NFL draft is or the NBA draft is, and so there's a lot more to choose from, and you just never know. It's a crapshoot, but you get drafted, you take that, and you take that information, and you negotiate your signing bonus, which isn't as much of a negotiation now as it has been. And you go and you start your professional career, or you say, no, I'm going to go back to school. So it's always a crapshoot, but the shocking thing for me was Ianson going in the third round. I really thought he was going to get drafted higher than that.
I agree with that. And I guess the other one, but I guess it was and it's not, simply because he's kind of gotten to the spot where you lose, I guess, a little bit more of that bargaining chip in terms of I'll come back to school. But listen, I get it, man. The strikeouts were what they were. But for someone as big as him, and if someone has any kind of faith in terms of their ability to develop, watching someone produce at the high level that Bear Jones has in the SEC for the last 2 years, it's kind of hard to say you just knew he'd get drafted in the 9th round. Right? Like, that's a guy out in 3 years, and honestly, probably could be at a better spot. Let's just say if they were in a spot to where they didn't feel the need to sit him in 23, does he come out of that slump? Does he hit more homers that year? That's a guy that leaves LSU as a top 3 ever in LSU's history, in home run history, and he did it in 3 years, and the 2 dudes that are in front of him did it in 4 years, right? So it's like, it was kind of crazy to see like that he still dropped to, I think, the 9th round, I believe, but that's what happens. Yeah,
and look, that was shocking, and there's probably gonna be some conversation. Should he come back? I think he's gone. I mean, he's gonna go start his professional career, as I think he should, and go out there and just try to make his way. Look, there's been a bunch of guys get drafted in the 9th round, later make it to the big leagues. Getting drafted doesn't make you a big leaguer or not make you a big leaguer. What you do after that makes you a big leaguer, and I think, I think he understands that, and I think he knows that he's got some work to do, and maybe he used that as motivation to go out there and make it to the big leagues.
Hey, check me on it. I could be completely wrong, but another first baseman that was a 9th rounder in recent history that I just kind of comes off the top of my head who's had an incredible major league career, Paul Goldschmidt. So that position can put out 9th rounders that turn into big league all-stars and perennial all-stars. Like that did happen. And this was at a time when there was 50 rounds in the draft as well, too. So you got to think of it that way as well.
100%. And look, I think, like you said, he had an illustrious career, very well decorated here at LSU, won 2 national championships. I think he's going to be all right in minor league ball. I think he's going to tweak some things. He's going to figure it out, and he's going to go from there. Power is not going to be an issue. Wood bat in his hand is not going to be an issue. Ball's still going to go over the fence. I think the bigger thing in the draft this year was the recruiting class. Last year LSU got very fortunate with a lot of the top recruits that decided to either take their name out of the draft or turn down money to come to LSU. This year it's going to be a little bit more interesting. They had a lot of guys drafted really high. That's part of the conversation I want to have with Josh Jordan when he comes on here in about 10 minutes, is what's that look like? I know he's had conversations going into the draft on these guys. And look, a lot of guys stay strong. A lot of guys don't. A lot of guys say this is what it would take for me to go and forego college, and they say that, and then they get drafted, and they kind of give in a little bit and don't take less than the money that they initially said they would take, and then some guys get that money and decide, you know what, maybe I do want to go to school. So he's going to have a good, probably his finger's going to be on the pulse of that and who he expects and who he doesn't expect and who he's still holding his breath out. So I'm interested to see what that happens because they had a bunch of guys. But they also had some guys that didn't get drafted as high as they probably thought they were going to get drafted. They have the outfielder up North Louisiana, William Patrick, super athlete, big, tall guy, very physical-looking outfielder, football, baseball player. Was supposed to get drafted pretty high. I say pretty high, probably top 5-6 rounds. Did not get drafted. You had 2 guys that took their name out of the draft: Reagan Ricken and Omar Cerner, who's the catcher. One of the top catchers took his name out of the draft, so he's coming to LSU. Ricken's coming to LSU. You had a shortstop that did not get drafted. You had, a guy, Miguel. I don't know how you pronounce his last name, Sime Jr. Throws 100 out of high school, got drafted 111th. The slot value for that is $687. Depending on, how high they want to go with that bonus pool looks like. How much does he get? Does he want to go to LSU? I think he's going to sign. But there's some other guys that you have, you're going to have some conversations about. I don't know the answers to that. Josh would. So that's what I'm looking forward to. I was hoping Delman Youngstown would somehow get here.
Me too.
I'll play with Delman in AA for a little bit. When he was got hurt, rehabbed. Great dude. He got a bad rep early in his career for some of the stuff that happened, but good dude. I played him in obviously the back end of his career, but good dude. I mean, unbelievable talent.
Yep.
So I'm looking at this.
I'd be interested to see what Josh has to say about the class and kind of how all these things shook out a little bit down the stretch through the draft and stuff. So I'm interested to see what he has to say about it.
Because we've had as much as it feels like the sky is falling or whatever, if you're an LSU fan and you see all the guys from high school that are signing to go to college, or signing to go to the professional baseball and who kind of was drafted where, you still have a team that is returning a good bit of talent that is coming off a national championship that is going to be extremely veteran at some of those spots that they've played for now. This will be their 3rd year starting. When you look at Stephen Milam, a Jake Brown, you could have thrown Ashton Larson into that number, but he hits the transfer portal. But you have
the All-Star team in the Cape.
They did, but you have guys that are now. Whether you lose out on Ethan Fry and you lose out on Bear Jones and you lose Luis Hernandez and you lose Braswell, but you also could return Stanfield because he didn't get drafted. And so that helps you answer your outfield question. And like I said, you have guys that played very big roles as freshmen, which will now be juniors. Like, there's no substitute for that experience.
Correct. I think some of these high school guys that got drafted are going to get above slot, like in the later rounds. Potentially may get above slot. I don't know. That's what I'm most curious about, and that's what Jay and I were talking about off air. Is I'm curious to see what that looks like this year, because Major League Baseball, and Jay Johnson talked about it too. Major League Baseball has decided, it feels like, that they're going to spend more money so that they can get these guys not to go to school because of the NIL and all that kind of stuff. So I think this is going to be the first year we should really start seeing that happen again, where they're going to start paying some of these guys above slot later on. But we'll see. I don't know, because if it's some of these kids are getting based off the slot value on some of these draft picks, if they're getting the slot value as is, I wouldn't be shocked if some of them ended up coming to school. Because, like this Briggs McKenzie's left-handed pitcher got drafted in the 4th round. The slot value is $588. Like, is that enough to get you out of school? I don't think so, in my opinion. But, does Atlanta go and give him $1 million in the 4th round? Do they double that? I don't know. That's what I'm curious to see.
Yeah, I think today that slot value conversation is. I don't know this for sure because I have not looked at the numbers of what's going on over the past few years, especially like out of the first 10 or so picks or whatever. So I really can't answer that, but I do think as the draft goes on, that slot value number becomes less and less important because at this point now they're trying to.
Correct.
I think they're willing to pay whatever because it's now a pool of money as opposed to the old school system is we're paying a slot, which is where you are. Correct. So I do think that that's kind of changed. Each team has a different pool of money. Each team has the autonomy to even be able to allocate that money however the hell they want. So I think that conversation kind of gets thrown to the side a little bit, especially as you get outside of those top 10, even outside of maybe the top 20.
I agree. Josh Jordan will have those answers for us. He has been if you don't know who Josh Jordan is, if you're listening, he's the third base coach, recruiting coordinator for LSU. So he is kind of the architect of the recruiting classes. Obviously, works very closely with Jay Johnson, obviously. And but he is the architect, and he's the guy that's going out there and having a lot of these conversations and getting these guys to campus, and he's going to have a really good, obviously a lot of good insight on who's going to go, who's going to stay, who he's holding his breath on. What's the deadline? I
don't know. It's much quicker than what it ever used to be, but I don't know the exact date.
Deadline to sign MLB draft. August 1st is the deadline. So they get 2 weeks. 2 weeks. It used to be August 15th, but the draft was June 6th or in June, whatever. So, you'd have, 2 months of negotiating. You have 2 weeks. So a lot of these guys are going to sign pretty early and get going. Huh?
But say all that stuff's moved. All that stuff is moved because at one point it even used to be all the way up until the first day of actual fall classes started. If you were enrolled and you showed up, that means you were no longer eligible to sign. That's where it was when I was coming out of high school. So all that stuff's kind of changed, and it's continued to change over the years.
Yeah.
July 28th is the official date. It says on MLB 20.
Oh, really?
MLB.com.
AI have messed this one up.
Well, I think it's just 1 day or 2 days. Teams have until
3
Monday,
days.
July 28th at 5 p.m. Eastern Time to agree to deals with players they drafted of 4-year colleges and high schools.
So that's 3 days difference. It used to be August. It used to be August 15th at midnight. I signed it at 11:55.
What was the back and forth?
They're trying to lowball me.
They waited your ass out. They wanted to get you back down to whatever number they wanted.
They drafted me. I didn't talk to them for a month.
Wow.
I mean, maybe more than that. I didn't talk to him probably until the beginning of August. They drafted me and they asked me if I'd sign for slot, and I said no, because slot was obviously not what it is now. And they drafted me anyway, and then it was a back and forth, and I got them above slot, but not what I wanted, and ended up signing. If we had NIL, I probably would have come back to school.
Mm-hmm.
I would have been a senior sign after that. It worked out.
Did it?
It did. It did. It could have worked out better, but it worked out.
It did work out.
It worked out.
How close were you ever even considering coming back?
I was.
Like,
I mean, that's
what's the? If
that's
you had
why
to put
I
a
waited.
number on it.
What's that?
If you had to put like a percentage on it, you'd be like, "Fuck it, I'm coming back. Like, I'm tired of doing this."
It wasn't about being tired of doing it. It was, I knew the next year they were changing the draft to where it was a hard slot, like in your spot. So it wasn't about me not wanting, like me being tired of the negotiating process. It was, okay, I know that if I come back, I'm gonna be one of the top outfielders selected. I didn't feel like I got drafted where I should have gotten drafted, and so I'd have an opportunity to get more and get drafted to a team that maybe has deeper pockets. Ultimately, I thought it was probably smart for me to go and start my professional journey. That's honestly what happened with my agent, my mom, and family and whatever. But you don't want to talk about me. You want to talk about the draft picks this year. And who better to talk about the draft picks that were currently in college and supposed to come to LSU than Josh Jordan, recruiting coordinator, two-time national champion at LSU. Has a great send. His arms, very aggressive sender of the runners at third base, which I love. Josh, welcome to the show, Coach. It's been a minute. We've been trying to get you on. I'm glad you're here. It's been a stressful couple days for you, I'd imagine.
No, yeah, first of all, I'm really excited to get on. I always see Coach on here and excited to get a chance to jump on here and spend some time with you guys, just talking baseball, honestly. So
yeah, we love it. Y'all are doing a great job. Before we get into let's just jump right into the draft. Obviously, I was talking about it a little earlier on the show. The draft's kind of a crapshoot, right? Like, you have expectations, you have all these rumors, everybody comes in. I mean, they're talking to everybody under the sun about certain players, and you expect them to go certain spots. You just don't really know until it actually happens. Let's talk about your current guys that have just left. Obviously, Kay Anderson goes third overall. I think he was the odds-on favorite before the draft to go one. Does not happen. I think both the 1 and 2 picks were a little bit of a surprise. And then you followed that up with Chase Shores and then Anthony Ianson. To me, the biggest shock of that was Ianson going in the third round. I think the Boston Red Sox got a steal there in the third round. Talk about those few guys and a little bit about their career, and then obviously the draft process for them.
obviously, yeah, I think it starts off with Cade. I mean, unbelievably happy for him. You joked about or talked about how kind of the draft when you were coming up as a player. I think before I jumped on here, I was listening, and you just now it's so hard to know who's going to be the first guy taken. Just because of the way it's kind of structured and the way it's kind of set up. And we can maybe talk more at length about that because I do have some feelings about it. But really excited for Kate, really excited for Anthony. Both those guys, like Coach Johnson mentioned, if we don't have those two guys, we don't win a national championship, plain and simple. And I love the fact that, both guys are very different. One guy is a Louisiana born and bred and, grew up bleeding purple and gold. And then you got Anthony Ianson, who's a West Coast kid. Took a little different path to get here, but again, same kind of result. I think both those guys are going to pitch in the big leagues, and excited for all our guys got taken. They all grew up, wanting to be, professional baseball players, having a chance to win a national championship while kind of doing that, developing into a professional baseball player. Something that I think every one of those guys dreamed of.
Jared.
Yeah. So, Coach, I want to talk a little bit more about that because I've always been curious about this kind of, recently. You talk about how it's harder to predict who's going first in that sense, but because there is so much advanced analytics that is available for these clubs on these kids and how they're looking at them, as you get down the stretch, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent in terms of performance and whether you propel yourself or drop yourself and how you perform, how much of when you get to draft day, how much weight is put into all of the analytical stuff and kind of aside from the traditional things that they used to look at so much?
I think it depends on the organization, honestly. I think and I think it also depends on the skill set of the player. Is that it just something a guy like Jacob Myers that has an outlier? You guys have talked about him on the program before. So I think it's more about the organization. I think the hardest thing for a coach now is, even though the money is slotted, it still feels very much like, and I will say this, I'm very pro baseball in general. I'm not anti-professional baseball. I'm not pro-college baseball. I think every guy should have a path to achieve every single one of his dreams, whether it be a national championship or to go and play in the big leagues for 15 years. For me, though, I think the current system, there has to be some adjustments. I think one, because of marketability. I think one of the things that I would say that was a little bit disturbing as a college coach and a fan of baseball in general, that not a single athlete was at the draft last night.
Yeah.
Right.
I think that's concerning. And I think we have in baseball, if we want our sport to continue to grow and develop and be what we think it can be, you have to market stars. I mean, that's what every other professional sports organization is doing, is marketing the stars. I mean, we see it tonight in the Home Run Derby. We'll see it tomorrow night in the All-Star game. We have to have a way where we can bring guys into the draft and we kind of know, like, hey, this guy's going to take in here. Let's make sure we have a great story versus getting ambushed. I think it's cool. Who's taken number one is kind of a surprise per se. There's some kind of theater with that or drama with that, but at the same time, it doesn't give you a chance to maybe market it as well as you could, like in the NFL. You kind of have an idea, okay, these 30 guys, these 40 guys are for sure going in the first round. Okay, let's make sure we have a good story so we can actually market that player. I think we could do a better job as in baseball in doing that.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I definitely think that's the mark has been missed on in terms of maximizing what you can get in marketing some of these players and pushing along stars and pushing along a storyline and grow it, especially nowadays with how quickly guys are moving through the minor league system. You no longer go into oblivion and are lost for 3 to 5 years for the most part. A lot of these guys are getting up there quicker. I wanted to ask you a little bit about too. So Jay got on and he didn't say anything like super specific about any of this. He said he had a feeling that it seemed like Major League Baseball was finding more money to be able to give to guys in the draft. Obviously, you guys had a lot more gone. Has it become harder to be able to get high school, or not become harder? Right now, do y'all feel like there's a shift in Major League Baseball in terms of trying to get these younger kids on there because they know it's harder to get them away after a year or at a younger age now because of everything that's kind of come into college baseball?
Yeah, I think Coach Johnson's onto something when he kind of was talking about that. To me, and I look at like last year, for example. Last year in the high school class, we had 14 guys that were coming to LSU total. Okay, we lost 4 of them. This year, or last year, got 10 of them here and got them to campus. It was almost like, not us, not saying Major League Baseball is picking on LSU, is not what I'm saying, but I think across college baseball, I think you look at this year's draft, it's just like, okay, this isn't happening again. We're not letting some of these guys maybe get to that point. Right. And however you think it happened, or whether it's because of the money or because of the way the structure, I think, there's a lot of ways that maybe teams can achieve the goal per se with the structure that it is now. So I think that this year, us as an example, you look at this year, we had 18 guys that were, coming to campus, and we got stung pretty good the last 2 days. And but
that was gonna be my next question. Out of the guys that you had, we were talking, through text message, and y'all. I mean, back in the day, before all of this NIL stuff, that was kind of the norm. All right, the top prospects in high school baseball are probably gonna get drafted, and they're gonna go. It's kind of had a shift change, and it feels like they're trying to go back to that. Out of all the guys that y'all had, because the recruiting class was outrageous, you had a bunch of guys get drafted high, as you would expect because of a highly rated recruiting class. Out of those guys, do you have a pretty good feel on, I'd imagine y'all had conversations on numbers and, hey, this is my number if I get drafted or picked at this point with this money, this is what I'm going. Do you have a pretty good feel on who's going to go and who's not going to go? Or are there some guys you're still holding your breath on as the negotiations progress?
I think the last week, I feel like it's a moving target.
Yeah.
I think one day when Coach Johnson's, he may do what Coach Burton did, write a book. And I think there would probably be a whole chapter on this. And the fact that, it's the stories that go along with it and how you just kind of, how do we project and sit here and scribble out all the scenarios on a dry erase board. It's difficult and borderline impossible because moods change, money changes. Even for certain guys, maybe even FOMO, fear of missing out. They see buddies get played with getting drafted, so then therefore the price drops. You have all those things that are in play because you're still talking about you're dealing with people and emotions around something. A major event in their life. The draft is a major event in a baseball player's life, and so you have those emotions tied to it, and you're trying to help a young man that's 18 to 22 year olds. Sometimes the family doesn't understand maybe the process as clearly as some others, and so you take a guy like Brady Ebel, who he grew up, with his dad going to the big league park. And so you kind of have all those things you're taking into consideration when you're trying to figure out who's going to show up, who's not. And you still just really never know.
Coach, I kind of want to bring you back to that point a little bit. You have the draft this week. There's not a single player that got drafted that was actually there. Got to imagine the people that are showing up to Atlanta this week were showing up for all-star festivities and not to actually attend the draft. So it almost kind of feels like it's somewhat of a sideshow in that light. It's funny you bring this up. I had this conversation a couple weeks ago, actually, while I was in Omaha with someone. If we're not going to give a huge jump and a huge bump to players for what they're able to do on the stage in Omaha, I feel like there's a huge opportunity missed in terms of being able to showcase maybe drafting some players around it or right before it, however it needs to be done. If you had a plan of going forward, how would you form wherever this draft needs to be in terms of the college season and how it works with high school kids as well?
For me, my personal opinion is, and again, I'm not anti-professional baseball. I'm pro baseball at all levels. I think we played the greatest game and part of the greatest game in the world. And where a guy like Stephen Milam, can be a shortstop at LSU and achieve every single goal that he wanted growing up. I think that's an awesome story. I don't think that happens in football and basketball. So that's what makes our game really, really good. That being said, there's also a lot of stories tied with that same thing. And I think if the current structure is not in a position to do that. For me personally, I would structure it just like this. Hey, if you're going to pick and you're picking third, you pay what the third round pick is valued at. That's it and that's all. And I think that provides some clarity for us as coaches and provides clarity for families who's actually going to go and who's going to stay. And so I think you have families that are literally what is and I said it earlier, a major event in their life. You guys both, fortunate enough to be part of that process. It's a major event for you. Yeah. And you're sitting there late at night on a Sunday night and you're there at 10 o'clock p.m. going back and forth about whether or not this is a good decision for you. And I think there just has to be a little better situation. So for me, again, I think professional baseball is great. I love it. I go to professional baseball games. Went to the World Series game this past fall. That being said, I think the structure now needs to be, if you have the first overall pick, if you're determined the best player, and I think now they're trying to get the best collection of talent.
Yep.
Right.
And I think we have an opportunity to get the best stars front and center in our sport, which I think is ultimately what the draft should be about, is the future stars. And I went to the Futures game. I was there on Saturday and had a chance to talk to Gage and to Tommy, and that was a cool event in my opinion.
Yep.
I love seeing the young guys, and I thought it was awesome looking out there and seeing guys that honestly coached against. Guys I've seen on the recruiting show, looking to see how they matured. I think we have an opportunity to market those guys, and I think we're just missing it. I really do.
Yeah, and structure. I think every other professional organization, that's how they do the draft, right? If you go to get drafted in the first round of the NFL draft, you know what you're getting in that slotted pick, right? Like you're getting for first round, you're fully guaranteed. This is what you got. So 15th, I think NBA is the same way. Baseball is not that way. I agree with you. I think that would make it simpler for y'all and simpler for them, honestly. Hey, we're gonna go and we're gonna. They're not gonna have the question mark of guys deciding, because look, college baseball isn't the only part of this that gets quote unquote screwed. Sometimes it's these guys are gonna go draft a first rounder, and some emotions come into play, and this guy decides to come back to school. And now you just lost your first round pick, And so I think if you had a hard slot and you knew what you were getting, you'd have a better idea of, okay, this guy's going to go, this guy's not going to go, and there's not as much wiggle room in between. So I 100% agree. I think that'd be a good way to fix it.
Yeah. And I think last night, something that's just maybe small but missed, that as a baseball fan and a professional baseball fan, and I'm a Yankees fan, I think it'd be cool to get to see, I don't know, some Derek Jeter, Joe Torre, someone walk up to the podium and introduce their pick.
Correct.
And I think that's something that's really cool that, like you see in other drafts, in NFL draft, NBA draft. I think that's something, just a missed opportunity and an opportunity to grow our game. And that's just simply feel that way because I love baseball.
Yeah.
And it's my livelihood. So
no, and look,
I'll add to that too, because I do think I think a lot of people outside of the game of baseball are not familiar with this word, because baseball is the only game that we use this word in. But the whole term of being draftability, that'd be gone. This is a slot. You know if this guy's gonna want to sign for this or not, and this is what we got. So this is what you're going to get, and we're not there's no wiggle room with that. Then if you're doing it that way, like you said, now we have an opportunity to start marketing stars, marketing and making storylines, and start building these players up. And I think a time like right around now would be a great time to do it, because guys are getting to the big leagues so much quicker than they ever did before. Just will make a lot of sense.
No, correct. And I think it because, you get into this profession, coaching, because you love the sport and because you like seeing guys achieve their dreams. And I think it's when you have an opportunity for a young man to tell his story because he's worked so hard to be, considered in the top 10 picks, he should know, hey, I don't have to sit here on draft night. I've earned this opportunity to go 5, 6, 7, 8. And I'm not talking about, this is an LSU conversation. This is just a fan perspective. Yeah. Let that young man get up there and have his story. Let him be announced by maybe an idol. Maybe he grew up a Yankees fan and then he's selected by the Yankees, and maybe one of his idols introduces it. There's a lot of ways to make it really, really beneficial and really cool for TV, really, really cool for our sport, and tell the story of the athlete, which I'm all about.
Correct.
I'm about players.
Correct. Lloyd, you got one?
Yeah, Coach, first of all, congratulations on the national championship.
Oh, yeah, we never even said that.
Thanks, man. It's good to see you in Omaha.
Yeah, absolutely, sir. Thank you. Yeah, it was a hell of a time. We got.
Well,
yeah.
I hope you hadn't forgot about it already.
No. That's what I'm saying. I wanted to make sure people remember, because around this show, people, I don't know, maybe it's Mikey or Jay Mitch, forget to say congratulations and thank you for a job well done, sir. So thank you. It's always nice to add some numbers to the wall behind you.
Love it. Yeah, that's why I'm in here.
That's
my
right.
favorite room in the world.
It's a lot better than it was when I was there. I can promise you that. That looks nice.
Well, you put one up there.
Yeah, we did.
You got
Go ahead.
Yeah, those added numbers look good up there.
It looks good. There's room for more, too.
Absolutely.
There you go. I see it. Yep. We can always make them smaller, too. There's a lot of things we can do. We can do a lot of things.
But I also wanted to ask you, because
You had a question?
Oh, yeah, there was a little bit of your name was mentioned a lot with head coaching searches, and it felt like it was almost a foregone conclusion you were going to take a job at a place where you had previously worked. People had almost written it off. I kind of wanted to get your side of how that happened and how that all played out, what ultimately led you returning to LSU, or staying.
Well, yeah, it's kind of funny when you hear those things, because you're kind of it's like a prearranged marriage or something. Don't I get a say? And so, no, I listen, my time at Duke University was unbelievable. It gave me the opportunity that I have here. That being said, I left Duke University for a reason, and that was to in my opinion, to coach at the best place to play college baseball in the country, and that's LSU. I love it here. Most importantly, I've always been about the guy I'm working for and the opportunity that I get. And that starts with Coach Johnson. He's the best boss in the country. He's so engaged in everything. It makes your life easy as an assistant coach. I love being around him. His energy's good. He's relentless. He just doesn't let up. We were texting before I jumped on here. And so, I love being here. Again, I love the passion our fans have. The chance to coach in this league with the best student athletes in the country and your sport, there's no reason to leave. It's I told Jay in Omaha plenty of times, I'm not going anywhere.
Damn it.
We're excited about the number of experience on the squad and ready to kind of push this thing forward and kind of lead the squad.
No question about it. When, as a coach, when you start thinking about, and you guys know this as great baseball guys, like you start in the middle of the field, and if you fast forward to next spring for us, we're really, really going to be good up the middle again. You know, you got Derek and you got Milo and you got, in my opinion, Cade right there behind the plate, ready to rock and roll. And so we're going to be really good in the middle. And we do have a great nucleus coming back.
Fickle thing. Are we back? Can everybody hear me? Everybody good? Everybody good?
Everybody's back.
You sure?
I just saw both of them on the Zoom.